Rain poured steadily outside Lincoln High School the morning everything began. In room 214, the buzz of excitement was undeniable. Mr. Jensen, the computer science teacher, had just announced that the school would be sending its best student coding projects to the statewide Innovation Challenge, a high-stakes tech competition offering internships, scholarships, and national exposure. To most students, it sounded like a cool opportunity. To Naomi Ellis, it felt like everything. Naomi wasn't loud. She wasn't popular. She sat near the back of the room, her hair tucked into a low bun, glasses slipping down her nose, and a laptop always glowing in front of her. She was known for being quiet smart, the kind of student who rarely raised her hand but always turned in flawless work. Most days, people barely noticed she was there. But Naomi could code. Not just the copy and paste kind, real code. Elegant, layered, functional. Logic structures that college students would struggle with. Machine learning models that she trained for fun. She had never had a stage to show it, until now. Then came the problem. Zach Cooper. Zach was everything Naomi wasn't. Blonde, charming, blue-eyed, captain of the swim team. Instagram famous for his abs and corny inspirational quotes. Teachers loved him, students followed him. Naomi watched him stroll into class 15 minutes late that day, wet hoodie slung over his shoulder, and still get a warm, "glad you made it" from Mr. Jensen. When Mr. Jensen announced that submissions would be done in pairs, Naomi's heart dropped. And then Zach turned around, locked eyes with her, and said with a wink, "Guess we're a team now, lucky you." She didn't reply. What could she say? She hadn't picked him. Over the next 2 weeks, Naomi worked late into the night on their project, a machine learning program that analyzed study habits and predicted performance outcomes with surprising accuracy. She debugged, optimized, and rewrote every major function. Zach, meanwhile, posted gym selfies captioned "grinding for greatness" and skipped most of their working sessions. Naomi didn't complain. She just kept building. But the day before the submission deadline, everything changed. Zach strolled into class holding up a USB stick like it was a trophy. "Pulled an all-nighter," he announced loudly. "Finished the whole thing myself." Applause broke out. Mr. Jensen nodded proudly. Some of the girls giggled. Even the principal passing by gave Zach a thumbs up. Naomi sat at her desk, frozen. Her fingers gripped the edge of her chair. Her throat tightened. She couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. And when Zach turned, smirked at her, and mouthed, "You're welcome," something inside her shattered and started to burn. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Naomi didn't sleep that night. She lay on her bed, staring at the glow of her laptop screen as the cursor blinked, taunting her. Inside a folder labeled "Capstone Project" sat every version of the code, every algorithm, every commit, every line she had written over 2 weeks of silent dedication. And yet, none of it mattered. Because tomorrow, Zach Cooper would walk into school, smile for the cameras, and take credit for it all, just like he always had. Naomi's fingers trembled above her keyboard, not from fear, but from fury. She had let others walk over her before, teachers ignoring her, classmates mispronouncing her name like it didn't matter. But this was hers, and now everyone thought it was his. The next day at school, things were somehow worse. A giant poster greeted her in the hallway. Zach Cooper, Lincoln High's next tech prodigy. There was even a quote printed underneath his smiling face. "Hard work always pays off." Naomi stared at the words like they were in another language. Students fist bumped him as he passed. Mr. Jensen patted him on the back. The school's Instagram page posted a story with Zach's grinning selfie and the caption, "On the road to state finals." She wanted to scream. Instead, she stayed silent. Again. During lunch, Zach swaggered over to her table, slid into the seat across from her like they were friends, and picked up one of her fries without asking. "You're welcome, by the way," he said, flashing that infuriating grin. Naomi blinked. "For what?" "For getting us noticed. This is good for both of us. I mean, nobody really cares who wrote what. It's about who can sell it, right?" She just stared at him. Zach leaned in, voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Look, let's be real. No one was going to listen to you anyway. But now you're part of history. He winked, stood up, and walked off, grabbing her apple on the way. The cafeteria erupted around him in cheers and high fives. Naomi sat frozen, her heart pounding. She barely noticed the whispering, the eyes glancing toward her, then quickly away, as if her presence somehow spoiled the celebration. That night, Naomi returned home and locked her bedroom door. She stared at the blinking folder again. She knew the code inside and out, every module, every function. She'd even created a backup patch system, her personal failsafe, in case anything went wrong during testing. Then, a new thought hit her. What if it did go wrong? What if she made sure it failed, just enough to expose him? Not permanently, not maliciously, just strategically. What if she inserted a trigger, hidden deep in the algorithm, that would break the system unless someone applied the correct patch? A patch only she knew existed? Her hands began to move. Line by line, she wrote it. A subtle fault injection, disguised as a timing error. Invisible to anyone who didn't understand the architecture. Easily fixable, for her, a disaster for anyone else. It wasn't sabotage, it was truth insurance. When she finished, she sat back in her chair, her pulse racing, her breath unsteady. She didn't smile. She simply whispered to herself, "Let's see if the genius can debug that." The next morning, Zach strutted into class with sunglasses on and two girls following him like backup dancers. Mr. Jensen shook his hand. "Big day tomorrow, huh?" he said. Zach smirked. "Yeah, gonna make Lincoln High proud." Naomi sat quietly in her seat, headphones on, but there was no music, only strategy, only silence. And inside that silence, a storm was building. The competition hall was packed. Dozens of high schools had sent their best teams. Sponsors had booths lining the walls. Programmers from real tech firms mingled with the judges. There were banners, camera crews, and even drone footage flying above. Zach looked ready for a press tour. He shook hands, posed for pictures, even offered a mock peace sign while holding the Project USB like it was the key to the city. Naomi kept her eyes on the floor, reviewing every step of her plan in her head. The code, the fault injection, the patch file she kept safely on a private flash drive. The schedule was simple. Round 1, live demo of each project. Round 2, Q&A with the judging panel. Then, winners would be announced. Naomi's heart pounded as the announcer called out, "Team Lincoln High, Zach Cooper and Naomi Ellis." Zach led the way to the stage, waving. Naomi followed behind, quiet, steady. The lead judge, a woman in a charcoal suit and glasses, motioned toward the screen. "Please load your project on the competition server." Zach smiled. "Absolutely." He slid in the USB, clicked run, and turned to the audience with a practiced smirk. For the first few seconds, everything was perfect. The splash screen loaded, the dashboard appeared. Even the animated study trend graph started rendering. People in the audience nodded. Teachers from other schools whispered things like, "Looks slick," and "clean UI." And then it happened. The screen froze, glitched, then blinked to black. A red system error message appeared in bold letters. "Fatal error, prediction module crash, system terminated." Gasps. Zach blinked, then laughed awkwardly. Hang on, must be a glitch." He unplugged the USB, plugged it back in. Click, run. Same result. Crash, red, failure. The room fell silent. Mr. Jensen leaned forward in his seat, eyebrows knitted. Naomi sat still, expression unreadable. One of the judges frowned. "Cooper, can you explain what's happening?" Zach stammered. I don't know. It worked yesterday. It must be a bug, some weird environment issue." Another judge flipped through their technical documentation. "Could you describe how your prediction algorithm handles null data entries in the training set?" Zach blinked. "Null, I think we just filter them out." "Specifically how?" Zach opened his mouth, then closed it, sweat beaded at his temple. Another judge. "What's your fallback method for unexpected input types in the classification layer?" Zach looked like he'd been punched in the chest. I don't remember that part." Whispers, phones recording. One student muttered, "Oh my God, he has no idea." And then came the voice Naomi had been waiting for. The head judge leaned toward her mic and asked calmly, "Is there anyone else on this team who can explain the code?" Every head turned. Naomi stood, slowly, quietly. Zach looked at her, pale, frozen, eyes full of silent pleading. Naomi didn't flinch. She walked to the keyboard. The judge nodded for her to begin. With a calm voice, she said, "The project failed because of an intentional exception handler I built into the core algorithm. It was a temporary test safeguard meant to ensure code integrity. Without the patch I created, the system halts before output." "And who wrote the main algorithm?" the judge asked. Naomi took a breath. "I did. Every line," the audience murmured. Zach's jaw dropped. Mr. Jensen sat bolt upright in the stands. Naomi plugged in her personal flash drive, ran the program, and just like that, it worked. Perfectly. Real-time predictions appeared. Clean UI. Flawless execution. The judges leaned forward, impressed. One smiled. "This is some of the best logic work we've seen today." Another added, "Have you considered applying for our mentorship program?" Naomi allowed herself a single nod. Zach opened his mouth, no doubt to say something, anything, but the judges had already turned back to Naomi. Then, like a final nail, the head judge asked, "And Mr. Cooper, what exactly did you contribute?" Zach mumbled, I helped with testing." Laughter broke out, soft at first, then louder. But Naomi wasn't laughing. She wasn't angry. She wasn't gloating. She had simply told the truth. And for the first time in her life, the world listened. The bus ride home from the competition was strangely quiet. Some students offered Naomi shy congratulations. Others avoided eye contact entirely, unsure of what to say now that the truth had exploded so publicly. Zach sat alone in the very back, hood pulled over his head, headphones in, but no music playing. At school the next day, everything had changed, but not all for the better. A video of Naomi's flawless demo and Zach's humiliating failure had gone viral on the school's social media pages. Hundreds of comments flooded in. "Finally, the real genius gets credit. Zach got cooked. Naomi Ellis for president." But with fame came backlash. By mid-morning, Naomi noticed students whispering behind her back again. Except this time, it wasn't just curiosity. It was resentment. A rumor began to spread. Naomi sabotaged the project on purpose to humiliate Zach. Some of Zach's friends even said it out loud. She tanked it to make him look bad. Pretty messed up, if you ask me. Someone tagged her in a cruel meme. Queen of Code or Queen of Petty. Her locker was spray-painted with the word traitor. When Mr. Jensen called her into his office, she thought maybe it was to apologize. Instead, he looked uncomfortable. "Naomi, the administration is launching a review. Some students are saying you manipulated the project to hurt your teammate." Her heart dropped. "Are you serious?" "I'm not accusing you," he added quickly, "but we have to look into it." She left the office in silence. Not with guilt, she had none, but with a sick twist in her stomach. She had fought so hard to be seen. Now she was finally visible. But to some, visibility came with a target, and the real war was only just beginning. Naomi could have stayed silent. She could have let the whispers continue. The rumors twist her victory into something ugly. But that wasn't her. Not anymore. That night, she opened her laptop and built a folder. Proof. Inside, every commit log, every timestamp, every saved version of the code. She traced the anonymous threats too, down to a school library login tied to Bradley Whitman, Zach's closest friend. Then she compiled everything. Emails, screenshots, server logs, facts, unshakable facts. The next morning, Naomi walked straight into the principal's office. No hesitation. "This is what happened," she said, placing a flash drive on the desk. "And I'm not asking for protection. I'm demanding accountability." What followed was a storm. Bradley was suspended, the fake accounts taken down. Zach's scholarship applications were withdrawn after an ethics investigation. Mr. Jensen stood in front of the class and publicly apologized. But Naomi didn't care about punishment. She cared about legacy. She launched a mentorship club, Code Truth, to help other students from overlooked backgrounds get into tech. Her inbox filled with offers from real engineers. And when Ms. Carter, one of the judges, returned to school and handed Naomi a paid summer internship, The entire class stood up and clapped, except Zach. He didn't say a word. Naomi didn't need him to. As she walked out of that classroom into the sunlit hallway, she wasn't just the girl who coded her way to justice. She was the blueprint. Rain poured steadily outside Lincoln High School the morning everything began. In room 214, the buzz of excitement was undeniable. Mr. Jensen, the computer science teacher, had just announced that the school would be sending its best student coding projects to the statewide Innovation Challenge, a high-stakes tech competition offering internships, scholarships, and national exposure.